and welcome to FretDojo. My name's Greg O'Rourke and this side is all about mastery of jazz guitar. In this lesson you're going to learn the 6 core exercises you need to develop a solid fingerstyle technique. A lot of jazz players over the years have used fingerstyle in one form or another. You know, players like Pass, Ted Greene come to mind. So it's worth looking into fingerstyle technique, especially if you want to play solo jazz guitar, as it could be really useful for that. But regardless of whether you play jazz or not, fingerstyle techniques are pretty similar across the board. So this post should be helpful no matter what style of music you play. There's books full of hundreds of picking patterns out there, however most of them are just variations of these 6 core exercises that I'll show you today. So I hope you enjoyed this one, and I thought, as I usually do, I would put together all the exercises and studies covered today, one after the other in a nice PDF, so that you can easily print them off for practice at home, and you can download that by clicking the link below this video. Alrighty, time to get fingerpicking. Alright, so this lesson's actually based on a post on my website that goes through all the exercises that I'm covering today in detail, and it also has all the notation and tabs there. So if you're looking on this on YouTube, head over to my website on the link below to find all the exercises and detailed descriptions of what we're doing today. Okay, so first things first, I'm going to go through with you the 2 main stroke types that you need to know for your picking hand when playing fingerstyle. So let me just move the guitar a little bit this way so you can see this angle of my hand a bit better. As you can see, I'm wearing a fingerpick today because I've broken one of my fingernails. But by the way, fingerpicks are a good substitute for a nail if you are accustomed to playing with fingernails. I use these ones called Alaska pick, and I might leave a link for that in the post for this lesson. But anyway, let's go into the stroke types now. So first we're going to look at a rest stroke. So look carefully here. I'm going to pluck on the top string with my index finger, and all you need to do is pluck the string and then rest the finger on the string immediately behind the one you just plucked, or immediately adjacent to the one you just plucked. Let me show you again. So I'm coming from a classical background here. I've had a lot of training in classical guitar, and it's customary to walk the fingers in that style, but I think this is a very useful exercise to do regardless of what style you play. So once you pluck one finger like this on the string, you then move to the middle finger, back to the index finger, in a kind of walking motion. So that's the first exercise on the post there, is just very simple walking fingers on an open string. So notice how my fingers in a rest stroke, like what I've been doing here, is the fingers are slightly leaning back. Now that's important. If you have them too far forward and you try to do rest stroke, there'll be too much resistance in the finger for the stroke to kind of the string to roll off the finger nicely as you play. So watch one more time. Okay, so that is a rest stroke. Now let's move to a free stroke. So a free stroke is still plucking the string with the fingers, but this time when you pluck, you don't rest the finger on the adjacent string. You pluck the string with one of your fingers, and then the finger glides over the rest of the strings without touching them. Now, this stroke needs a few tips here, I think, to ensure that you're doing it properly. Now, watch this. A lot of people, when they try this free stroke, is this sort of motion with their finger. They go like this. Do you see how, when I'm doing it in this case, the finger is plucking the string, and then this knuckle here, the large knuckle, that joins the finger to the palm, is pulling back the first part of that finger. upwards like that. Now that's not correct. If you do that, then your finger will start to build up a lot of tension, and it's impossible to play fast like that. Now, so when you do a free stroke, ensure that all the joints of the finger are rolling into the palm, like this. If you do that, this is following the natural motion of the hand, as if it's almost picking up a ball or something like that. So as you can see, imagine I'm picking up a ball right now, and you can see all the fingers of the hand moving into the palm like this, not like this. See how this is obviously a very tense motion, but I often see a lot of people playing fingerstyle with this motion instead of this motion, this more natural motion of the hand. This is really taking advantage of our natural motion. So try to ensure that you do that for this stroke type. So try that first example again, but this time doing a free stroke. So now that we've got that basic picking motion sorted out for the two stroke types, rest stroke and free stroke, it's now time to try to play a simple tune or a simple scale like the one that's the next one in the post there. So this is just a simple C major scale, 4 plucks per note. First try it with rest stroke. Rest stroke's a bit easier. Should look like this. And etc. And once you've mastered it with rest stroke, then try it with free stroke, but being very mindful of the correct motion of the fingers as you play. I'll just move my hand here a little bit more so you can see better. Okay, so rest stroke, I find it really useful for when you want to really emphasize a single line melody, you know, like that sort of thing. Now, so rest stroke tends to give a very full-bodied tone, and it's also a very secure stroke, and it's also easy to kind of pop out a note if you need to accent something. Like, let's say I'm playing a little melody. See how I was able to really push out the sound with a rest stroke here and there. Now, but in the end, especially for jazz guitar, I tend to use mainly free strokes. I find them a lot faster, and also they're useful if you're doing chordal work because the notes can all ring over each other like this. If I tried to do that in rest stroke, it'd sound like this. See, that doesn't sound very good at all. But all the sound of the guitar was being blocked because each time I played, the note was blocking the next string behind it because it was resting on it. So they're the two different uses, but mainly try to get the free stroke happening. I think rest stroke is good for an absolute beginner, but once you've got that, then try to work on your free strokes and try to get them fast, like that, and that'll give you a good foundation for the rest of the exercises that follow. Alright, so let's move to the next exercise now of these core exercises for fingerstyle. Let me show you something. As I play a simple scale with walking fingers, as we covered before, check this out. Okay, so to keep the walking finger motion, when I went from this second string note to the third string note, crossing the strings over, see how I had to play this one with my index finger here and then go to the middle finger. Now, that can be an awkward movement. It takes a little bit of getting used to. Now, watch this. This is something you should really watch out for here. If I'm going and playing a scale, do you see how it's very easy to have the tendency to repeat the finger? Now, that's, if you liken it to playing with a pick, that's almost like a sweep picking motion. Now, I suppose that can be useful in some circumstances, but your general bass action should be always walking fingers for fingerstyle scales and single note stuff. So be very careful that you never repeat a finger when you're doing these exercises. So to facilitate practicing that, now what we're going to do is some basic string crossing exercises. So watch this. You keep the walking finger motion. Now this is based on the exercise in the post called basic string crossing on open strings. What we're doing here is starting on the third string and playing going to the second string and back again like this. Okay, so that's a good practice for learning how to cross strings. Now you can do that faster. And also try it with different finger combinations. Another one that I've written there is fingers I and A, which is the index finger and the ring finger. So let's see what it looks like with that combo. And you can also try it with a free stroke motion as well. I've been doing rest strokes the whole time, but let's try it with free stroke now. So now that you've mastered the string crossing exercise over 2 strings, see if you can now do it over all the string sets. I'll use my index and middle fingers, maybe with a rest stroke. Okay, so moving on, we have the next core exercise, number 3, which is learning how to use the thumb really well. So the thumb is very important. It's the bass player in solo jazz guitar, a lot of alternating bass patterns in other styles as well. So the thumb is very important for any style of fingerstyle playing. So let's first look at the motion of the thumb, the correct motion. Now, watch my thumb when I pluck the bass, the open E string here. So be careful that you're plucking from the strongest joint of the thumb, which a lot of people don't know where this joint is. So some people think that the thumb ends here, but that's not correct. There is another joint back here, right down near the wrist. Now that is the main point that you should be directing the movement from. The rest of the thumb remains quite straight. It's not like tense like this, but this isn't serving the motion very much. It's mainly coming from this point here. Okay, now to get a good motion of the thumb, like, as you can see, I've got a lot of force in there, but there's not a lot of movement. Now that's important because if you have a good economy of motion, it means that you can play a lot faster than with the thumb, as opposed to sort of like doing great big movements. See how slow that would be. Now let's change the angle a little bit, and let's have a look at the thumb motion from this angle. I'm exaggerating that a little bit there, but the motion should be in small circles, but rotating from that joint near the wrist. Okay, so these exercises on the post are pretty simple here. The first one is simply playing the 3 bass strings with the thumb, 4 plucks per open string, like this. a similar exercise for the next one, but just one pluck per note. So I know that these exercises are very simple, but use this as an opportunity to work on your technique. Because the music isn't distracting or particularly engaging, it does give you a good opportunity to be very careful in the motion of your thumb and making sure that it is moving from the correct joints, that there's that circular motion there. So just being aware of all that. Okay, so now the final exercise here is where we bring the fingers in as well. Now this might be a little bit more challenging. So it's alternating the thumb with finger strokes like this. Okay, so a very simple exercise there, but that's the start of being able to play more polyphonic music with the thumb playing bass lines or accompanying bass notes and the fingers doing melodies and chords. So that's about it for the thumb exercises. Alright, so exercise number 4, which is 2 fingers at once. So there's a couple of ways to play these, but the most obvious way to do it is take your index and middle fingers and place them as the exercise does for this section here on the 2nd and 3rd strings and pluck with a free stroke. Obviously rest strokes won't work because one of the fingers will block the other string that you're trying to sound. Also notice how I've got the thumb held on a bass note. I've got the 5th string. I'm not like trying to play it, I'm just lightly touching for a bit of support of the hand. Makes it a little bit easier. Okay, so that's the motion. Now be careful again with those free strokes that you're going into the palm, and then this first exercise is just basically playing those over and over again. Etc. So, but not only that, you can also use the thumb and the index finger as well. Now, the motion is a little bit different here. So the thumb stroke is as the same as it was covered before, making sure that you're playing from the lowest joint of the thumb and also in that small circular motion. But also the index finger has to play as well here. So you have to angle your hands so that the two don't bump into each other. So if I'm angled like this, the thumb and the index finger will bump into each other. I guess it's not a huge issue, but it does tend to cause a lot of problems when you start playing more complex stuff. So ideally you want to roll your wrist this way. So if you're right-handed and you're looking from my angle, you'd be rolling the wrist to the left, which pokes out the thumb on the left-hand side, which gives the thumb enough and the finger enough clearance to play together without bumping together. So now that we've got that motion sorted out, all we have to do now is practice moving that technique across string sets. So let's start with the index finger on the 4th string and the middle finger on the 3rd string, and we're going to pluck each string set twice as we move across the strings like this. Now we'll also try that with the thumb and the index finger. So yeah, obviously I've tried to make these exercises pretty accessible, so they're all open strings, but to make it more interesting, you can hold, say, an open chord in the fretting hand, say an A minor chord, and do that technique over that. And maybe change chords. That's an E minor to G chord. Like that. And do you see, all of a sudden you've got something that sounds a bit kind of more hip. So practice that one and make sure that your picking action is really well established for the free strokes in the index finger, and also if you're using thumb and finger, making sure that they don't bump into each other by manipulating the angle of the hand if you need to. Okay, so now onto some more interesting patterns. We're going to just add a finger now. So we were doing 2 fingers at the same time previously. Now let's add a 3rd finger, but we're also going to do a few different exercises with 3 fingers. So I'm using the thumb, index, and middle finger. I'm using these because these are the 3 strongest fingers of the hand. So obviously it's best to just take advantage of the things that are already working well, rather than trying to, say, work up the little finger to do everything. Starting with the strongest fingers of the hand makes sense. So now we're going to pluck 3 fingers at once. Now these are all free stroke. Make sure that, once again, the thumb and the index finger aren't bumping into each other, and that the fingers have a good free stroke picking motion. So let's try this now. Okay, so that's that one, but we don't have to just play all the notes at the same time. We can also play one after the other. Now, this can sound really nice, so let's try it on open strings first. And so on. So, but if I hold, say, a nice open chord with some interesting tensions on it, you'll get this sort of sound. So that can give you a lot of creative ideas just by holding different chords and playing nice sequential picking patterns like that. Can be really useful for fingerstyle. So well done for getting this far. Now we have the final set of exercises, which is, yes, you guessed it, 4 fingers at once. So all the picking actions are exactly the same, but each time you add a finger, it can make things a little bit more difficult. So let's try this. So I think we've gone through most of the technical considerations for getting a good fingerstyle technique in all the other video segments, but all you have to do now is play sequential plucking for this next exercise, but just on 4 fingers. So this would look like this. So make sure with this one that you're playing free stroke for all the fingers, of course, and also try experimenting with different chord voicings in the left hand, just to give your ears a bit more interest. So I was holding down a C major 7 sharp 11 chord there in the left hand. Okay, so well done, you did it. You got through all of the exercises, so you've got all the building blocks for a very secure fingerpicking technique now. So Now go back on the post and try all the challenge studies that are throughout the lesson. So these use a lot of interesting chord voicings with open strings in them, but also utilizing all the techniques that we've gone through today. And you'll have a very solid set of exercises to work out your hand, and also look at building your speed. We didn't talk much about speed building in this post, but once you've got all the exercises to a reasonable level at a slow tempo, then bump it up and see if you can maintain a good fluent technique as you play at a faster tempo. So as you can see, fingerstyle technique is only a few patterns which are then mixed together in various ways. So you should now be able to play most fingerstyle arrangements and solos once you master these 6 fingerstyle exercise groups that we've gone through today. So thanks very much for spending your time with me today, and remember to download that PDF of all the exercises that you can get by clicking the link below. It's all in print-friendly format for your practice at home, so I hope you find that useful. Okay, thanks for checking this one out, and I'll see you in the next lesson of Fret Dojo. Bye for now. And for more jazz guitar lessons, tips, and free stuff, visit www.FretDojo.com.